Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today on the episode 3. Today we're going to look at Performance Toolkit. This is another topic on the list of topics and lessons for Business Central Developer Certification Exam MB-820. Let's have a look at what we did so far. Let's look at what we did so far. In the previous episode, we looked at cloud solution provider, and we touched on the partner platform, and we talked about offering trials to customers and how we extended. We looked at administration center, and I think we spent a lot of time on automation API. Today we're going to look at work with Performance Toolkit. And the Performance Toolkit, of course, it comes with a lot of notions: test suite tag, test code unit parameter. I'll let you read about them, but the way to start is we can start by installing the extension in VS Code. So quickly, let's switch gears here to VS Code, and I have it already done, but you would go to the extensions here and search for Performance Toolkit. As you can see, mine is already installed. What you would do, you probably don't have it installed, you would click on install, and once that's done, you can come here and type BCPT, and you're gonna see a few options. When you're starting with your project, to create a new project for Performance Toolkit, you would go with Setup New Business Central Performance Toolkit, which will download all the files needed to get started. I've done that already. I have the project here. What you would do is you would I think it's best if we go through one again. So let's close this folder. Let's go to command palette and choose Setup New Business Central Performance Toolkit project. We choose SaaS, not Docker, for our particular demo. And I don't know if you can see it, but I'm prompted to choose an environment. I can choose FFFF. It's one of my sandboxes, and the folder where this new project will be is BCPT2. I choose the standard samples, or I can use the latest sample test from GitHub. Let's use the latest sample test from GitHub. It's creating the Performance Toolkit project BCPT2. Looks like we had, so this didn't work. Probably that sandbox is not fully set up. So we're creating the new BCPT project. Let's deploy it to dev2 and the project BCPT2, and let's take the samples from GitHub, the latest samples from GitHub. System is working through the project, renumbering sample tests. Meanwhile, while this is going, I'm gonna go into into the browser, and on the browser I will uninstall my previously pushed extension. These are both installed, but we're gonna uninstall them. All right, now let's switch gears back to VS Code. And we can open the project. We look at VS at launch JSON, and it looks good here. Of course, we don't have any symbols, so we need to download the symbols. This is gonna go to my dev2 sandbox, and it will start downloading the symbols, which I think it's done, and there is no error. We can now build the project, and while we build the project, we can have a look at a few test code units. Code units, they are not of subtype test, not all of them are subtype tests, so just the code units that will be used by the test suite. We have adjust cost item entries. So basically this is the report that's running the adjust cost item entries. We have the calculate planning worksheet, also a test for that. Creating customer, this is another test. Creating item, creating PO with n lines. This is using a parameter for the number of lines, how many lines we want that PO to contain. Same with creating an SO. So you can have a look at all these tests, but let's push now without debugging into our sandbox. And let's switch to the browser. And in the browser, I opened up BCPT suites. You see it here. And I have created one suite, test suite. It comes up with a few parameters. This one was added. The tag is something that you want to record the results under a tag so that you can compare it at a later time against other results, or maybe against the baseline. Workday starts at 4/25/2024. This work date is going to be going to the document date, so that's one of the things that we can look at what the system created. I put here code unit 50,004, which is, if you remember, 50,004 is create PO with n lines, and this code unit comes with a parameter which represents the number of lines. I left it at 3, and the rest is it's just showing some from the last run, some averages, some statistics about the number of SQL statements, and so on. The way to run it is either from here for this particular one, or from here to run the whole suite of tests. So let's try it from here. It is run now. It's running now. You see these two buttons are disabled. we can watch for the progress by going to the log entries. And what's happening is the system will create a purchase order, but it will create a random number of purchase orders. We don't know when this is all done. It's not going to take too long, but we, on the other hand, we don't know exactly how long it's going to take because it's a random number of POs. We can check to see how we're doing, if we're progressing, and yes, we're progressing. Add order 1, 2, 3, 4. We already have 4 POs, and hopefully at some point that's gonna be finished. And it's completed. We can see here that we've got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 purchase orders. Let's see them. Because what's happening with this type of code unit, we are literally creating purchase orders and we see them created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This must be the first one. If we go to the page inspection and we look for system created, we see it's 148 and it's 150 now. The other one, the previous one was created at 105, so definitely these last 6 are the ones that we just created with this test suite run. And if we scroll down, yeah, obviously the vendor is 10,000 and the item is 1896, and we have 3 lines, just like we told the test code unit to create 3 lines, 3 purchase order lines. All right. Yeah, so that's obviously we can have more than one test code unit. We can choose to run a report, we can choose to create a vendor, whatever you feel like you need to include in your test suite. Add tests for it. We're gonna switch now back to the VS Code. And we're gonna spend a little bit more time here looking at not necessarily the scripts, but just go over what these test code units contain. So this one is running a report. We're passing enough parameters so we are able to run it, and we're hiding the request page. That's the adjust cost item entries. Then the calculate planning worksheet, again we're running a report, we're setting up some variables which we pass here to the report and we hide the request page. Then create customer, that's another test code unit which does what? It's initializing the test and it's creating the customer. Initializing the test is looking for the customer number series set up on sales receivable setup, and we make sure the allow gaps for that number series is true, and we read from the parameters for this code unit what is the template to use, and then we create a customer. And we either apply the customer template or we just set up some of the fields on the customer card. Same with create item, and then PO with n lines. This is the one we just did. We just ran. We do an init test and then we create purchase order. The other thing is you need to know that this code unit is actually implementing an interface, and this interface has to do with contains two methods: get default parameters and validate parameters, which we need um, to have them contained in this code unit: get default parameters and validate parameters. Um, we need to implement those two methods. And unit test again goes through the number series on a specific number series line, makes sure allow gaps in numbers is true, and then reads from the parameter the number of lines to create. We read the vendor, we read the item, we fine tune the number of lines if needed, and then we create the purchase header, initialize the buy from vendor number from the vendor we found, and then we create lines in a loop that goes from 1 to how many lines we said we want to have in the purchase order. Same with create SO with n lines or quotes. We've got here an example with another report, detailed trial balance, and how to make a web call. Then we have a coordinate of type subtype test. If you want to test pages, like actions on pages, or look up a value on a page, then you need to use a subtype test, and you're going to work with test pages, not pages. And test pages have open view, not run or run model. And yes, the other thing worth mentioning here is the when we download and we create a project, it's going to come with some PowerShell scripts, and you can use this command here, run BCPT PowerShell, to execute those PowerShell scripts. This is in large Performance Toolkit. I hope it helps. I hope it's good enough. It's enough for you to start creating your Performance Toolkit and run it and keep adding tests to it, so you can make sure that when you push a new version of your extension, it is tested and the main processes are working as designed. That's it on Performance Toolkit for today. We're going to continue in the next episodes with other topics for MB-820. Please subscribe, leave me a comment if you want to see something special. Otherwise, have a good weekend, and until next time, bye.